sometimes as much as 10 times a day under one condition. The condition is that we are Black first. Black first means we put our community at the top of our priority list. Black first means that we educate our kids. Black first means that we prepare for the future. So if you agree with this philosophy, put a B1 in the chat. Also, let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me all right. Because someone said that there was no sound and I had to plug in my microphone a little bit deeper. So let me know if you can hear me okay. Give me a yes if I am coming through all right. If you can hear me, can you guys hear me okay? All right. So I want to say hello to my name is Corey, Crystal Pryor, Hotep, Miriam, Khaled, and everybody else that's in here. Good to see you, Keena. And what's up on Instagram? My Instagram is the Real Boyce Watkins. The Real Boyce Watkins. All right. So let me tell you guys what got my attention today. I was thinking about actually the topic of marriage, and I've learned some things. You know, I've been married a couple of years now, so I'm still relatively new to all this, still figuring some of this stuff out. But also, I got many decades of training on marriage by watching my parents. My parents this year, I think they will be at number 49. They will have done 49 years of marriage. And I saw a lot of stuff that, that I think a lot of us don't get to see. I saw a lot of things about the realities of marriage. And honestly, seeing how tough it was led me to take my time. I said, you know what, getting married will be nice, but I don't need to rush it. I did not have a fairy tale. I did not have an illusion. I fully expected that in marriage, my partner would not be perfect. Give me a yes. All the married people in the chat, if you are married, say something in the chat. Because a lot of you that follow the platform are, heads of family, heads of households, stuff like that. And some of you are younger. Some of you are still trying to figure things out. And so my goal is to be beneficial. But sometimes when you throw out OG advice, there's some people who receive it, some people who don't. Especially if the advice does not sort of confirm and validate what they already believe. Like, so a lot of times in this society, if you confirm the pre-existing narrative, even if it's false, people are more likely to be happy to hear it than if you say, "Hey, that's a bunch of BS." Let me just tell you the honest truth about this. And I think honestly, that's why a lot of people struggle. I think that's why a lot of people don't have the life they want. That's why they are confused and frustrated and mad, because they see life for what they want it to be, instead of seeing life for what it actually is, right? Like, I'm a realist. I see life for what it is. When I got married, I saw it for what it was. I didn't see it as, oh, it's going to be love and we're going to be happy and flowers and cupcakes every day. And when I don't get happy, I need to get a divorce. That's not what I came into, because I saw my parents grinding through 40 years, 50 years actually. And now it pays off because, they are both older and, you got health issues and all that stuff. And it's nice to have somebody that's right there with you that has known you, for many decades. But anyway, I want to talk a little bit about marriage just as an economic construct. And if you could hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. I'm not going to keep you guys long because I actually have a meeting to go to in a second, but I wanted to have this conversation this morning, and I hope it's well received. So first of all, as an economic construct, give me a yes in the chat if it's easy for you to understand why married people have a higher income. Even if you divide the income in two, married people tend to do better financially than unmarried people. They tend to be more stable. They tend to be doing better off economically, etc. Give me a yes in the chat if you are already familiar with all these statistics or some of them. That's 100% true. Now I'm going to say that it's like was it chicken and egg kind of thing though, right? It could be that that people are better off economically because they're married, or it could be that people are married because they're economically better off. Does that make sense? Like that they could be better off economically because they're married, or they could be married because they're economically better off. I've known people who didn't want to get married because they weren't financially secure. I can say that when I was in my 20s and I could barely pay the rent, the last thing I wanted was to have another person and other people depending on me to pay the rent, especially if you live in a capitalist society where a lot of manhood is judged by your ability to provide and to protect. And if you can't provide, then you may feel a little bit, afraid to provide for others. This is why every Black boy in this country should learn how to start a business by the age of 12. Also, every Black boy in this country should learn how to invest in real estate. He should learn how to buy stock, and you should start buying stock for your children when they're newborns, boys and girls. Now, I'm not saying that economic intelligence isn't important for women too. I think it's important for women for different reasons than it is for men, but it is important for everybody. It's really important for our community. So if your child knows how to twerk, but they don't know how a bank account works, that's a problem. If your child knows how to throw a football, but he don't know nothing about owning shares of stock, I'm not saying football is terrible. I'm saying it's your fault as the parent for not introducing them to the things they need to know. Because after they finish playing the game of football, they're going to have to play the game of life. And the game of life takes no prisoners. The game of life does not give you much margin of error. The game of life ain't like losing a football game. The game of life means you might lose your damn soul. You might lose your freedom. Your son might lose his life because he's out here hustling in the street trying to get money the dirty way because you never taught him how to get money the clean way. He's taking those penitentiary chances to get bread because you never fed him bread. You never taught him. You never gave him the gift of knowledge, the gift of economic intelligence to know how to get that money in a way that's not going to cause his daughter to have to go visit him at the penitentiary for the next 40 years. Give me a yes if you understand why this is important. This is deeper than just money. This is life, man. This is life. And so let me kind of give you another perspective on something. It's not going to be politically correct because I don't give a shit about being politically correct. I'd rather be right. I don't need to be politically correct. I just want to be correct. And political correctness, I agree with my friend Dave Chappelle, who said recently that he's annoyed with the fact that everything is seen in red or blue. Everything is seen as liberal, conservative, Democrat or Republican, leftist, left or right. And that's nonsense. I think that's stupid. I think that's crazy. And I don't think that's going to help you succeed. So let me give you some thoughts that are probably going to ruffle some feathers and make some people uncomfortable. I believe that with marriage as an institution, number one, marriage is one of the most important financial investments that you'll ever make. I think if you choose to get married, I'm not here to tell people to get married. I don't care what you do. I'm not judging you. Do whatever you want to do. Do whatever works for you. I promise you. Just always plan ahead. People that don't plan ahead, they get screwed. They get into a situation in life and they're not prepared because you think you're 30, you're going to be 30 years old forever. You're not. Eventually you'll be 40, then you'll be 50, then you'll be 60. You should be thinking about all those things, not just what life is like at the age of 30. At 30, you got girlfriends or you got a bunch of boyfriends or whatever. You're living your best life and all that. Well, pretty soon you're going to be old and people are, you're going to have different needs. You're going to get a call from the doctor telling you that you had health problems. You're going to have you'll have grandkids, right? So you're going to have a different Kim Kardashian is going to be a grandmother in just a few years. So those grandkids are going to be able to go on the internet and Google their grandma making a sex tape with Ray J, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? So thinking ahead is really important, male or female. And so marriage to me, family, marriage and all that, it's an important institution. And every institution must receive investment. Every institution must receive investment. If that institution does not get investment, that institution will fail. Many of your HBCUs are stumbling and failing and broke and busted and disgusted and embarrassingly embarrassingly depleted because nobody invests in those institutions. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you notice these things. So if your family does not get an investment, meaning like paying for that marital therapist to help you figure out how to resolve your disputes or thinking carefully about how you plan your family, right? Planned Parenthood isn't just about getting that procedure. Planned Parenthood is also about preparing for the future, saying, okay, is this woman going to be a good mother or a bad mother? Is this man going to be a good father to my kids or is going to be a crappy father? I'm not thinking just about the size of your junk or how big your booty is. I'm thinking about what my kids are going to say to me 10 years from now when they're asking, why isn't daddy calling me anymore? Or I cried today because mama was mean to me and because mama's an alcoholic. Right. So ultimately, what I would say to you is that every investment, every institution that matters for you requires planning, preparation, no differently from the fact that everybody understands that if you want to win a championship in basketball, you've got to make a plan to win a championship. You're not going to win a championship by accident. If the Kansas City Chiefs or the Philadelphia Eagles wins the Super Bowl, they're not going to win it by accident, or they're not going to win it by just showing up to the game and hoping for the best. They win by planning and preparation and training and everything else. Give me a yes if you understand what I'm talking about. They win through investment. They had to invest hundreds of millions of dollars in paying the best athletes so they can get out there and have a chance to win games, paying the best coaches, right? Negotiating their differences, making sure that their relationships remain intact so that they can go out here and play together, right? So understand that your family is just like the Philadelphia Eagles. Your family is trying to win championships. Your family is your institution that can get you to the Super Bowl. But if you do not manage your family properly, if you got babies, mamas splattered all over the country, it's going to be much harder to do. If you got baby daddies from every walk of life, and half of them trifling and hate their own damn kids, well, then it's going to be hard to do. right? You reap what you sow. If you don't make that investment in your relationship, learning how to do it better, then you're probably going to have some problems. A lot of people make the mistake, in my view, of trying to solve their relationship problems by themselves. A lot of people think that they're smarter than the relationship therapists out here that can show you how to manage a relationship. A lot of people think, I got this, I can figure this out. And then next thing you know, your stuff crumbles and you don't know why. Well, let me say this. I got a PhD and I'm 51 years old. I'm not a stupid man. I'm pretty smart. I'm probably have more education than 99% of the people that I've met in my entire life. And that was true when I was 28 years old. And now I'm 51. But even then, the best thing I learned about being smart is that I became smart enough to know how dumb I actually am. I became smart enough to know that there are smarter people than me. I became smart enough to know that I don't want to be the smartest man in the room all the time. I became smart enough to know that the answers are out there, even if they're not inside of me, right? So if you are smart, let me tell you what a smart person does, in my opinion. A smart person seeks out knowledge. A smart person seeks out information. A smart person seeks out advice. A smart person seeks out mentorship. If you are the dummy who thinks that you know everything, then I guarantee you that most things you do will crash and burn. If you are dating a dummy who thinks they know everything, you need to get away from that dummy as soon as possible. If you are in any way thinking, I got this figured out, or the answers are all inside of you, let me just tell you, it will lead to a lot of misery, sadness, and disappointment. So don't put yourself in that situation. Go get the answers out there. So let me explain why this topic is on my mind today. And I actually have to go because I got a meeting in a minute. But I had to share this conversation. If you could do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also, you guys may or may not know I have a new book called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy either at boycewatkins.com, or you can go to Amazon and get the book. If you get it off Amazon, either one is fine. But if you get off Amazon, if you could leave a review, I'd appreciate it. The reviews so far are pretty much 5-star, so I appreciate all that support. I'm really proud of this book. It took a long time to write it, so I hope you guys will take a look and check it out. Also, on boycewatkins.com, I did a presentation called How to Make Money Without Working, and I talk about how I make my money for my own family. And a lot of you liked it. So if you want to see it, just go to boycewatkins.com. It's right there. Okay. So and if you're on Instagram, you get the link in the bio. So last point I want to make on this is this. This is another thing that I've thought about and I've spoken about openly. I talked about it on Twitter. Some people got it, some people didn't. But this is something that I really think is interesting, right? A lot of us, I saw a video today. It was on my friend's Roosevelt Mitchell III's page. And there was a Black woman who was explaining why Black women don't get married. And she was explaining, which is not true, actually. A lot of Black women are married. But there are women who are not married, and there are some who want to be married. Same thing, there are men who are not married who want to be married. And she was explaining why why Black women don't get married. And it seemed like she was kind of placing a lot of the blame on Black men and saying that Black men do this and Black men do that, and they don't value this and don't value that. Some of that may be true in some context. I'm not saying that she was wrong. But one of the things I was thinking about was I was asking, I said, if you are a person who isn't married or isn't in the relationship you want, have you ever been in a scenario where somebody even taught you how to even convince a man to want to marry you? Like, if you want to be married, have you ever had somebody mentor you on how to persuade a man to want to marry you? I don't know. Hey, and I know that sounds like it's a question where people will be triggered and say, "Oh, you're being sexist. Why should I have to change who I am just to please a man? Why should I become a pick me and all this other stuff?" But I want you to understand something that's really interesting that I've observed over time. And I went through this, and maybe I'm biased because my own experience. Before I married my wife, I didn't really need to get married. I didn't feel like, oh gosh, I just need somebody that's going to be there with me all the time, because I had money, I had friends, I had people around. I could, if I wanted to, if I wanted to have a companionship, that wasn't hard to find. Right. So I didn't wake up looking at, magazines with bride and groom attire and saying, gosh, I can't wait till my wedding day. I'm super excited. I can't wait till I find somebody that'll marry me. I could have got married in literally a day. I could have called somebody and said, hey, I'm looking for a wife. Would you marry me? And for a lot of men, it's not that hard to get married. Right. And what I noticed growing up is that men, a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us tend to think about other things like, can you get some or whatever, right? I'm not judging this. It's just true, right? And so what I thought about was that when I grew up, I remember that men would coach each other on how to persuade a woman to want to be with you. You know what I'm talking about? Give me a yes if you know what I'm talking about. That if you were trying to go get a girl to go home with you or go on a date with you or whatever it is you wanted from a woman, an older man would coach you and say, yeah, here's what you got to do. You got to talk to her like this. You got to bring some flowers. Well, I mean, a decent man would. Some, nowadays, I mean, stuff doesn't change. Some of these guys are ridiculous, but really, a decent man would tell another decent man on how to approach a decent woman. He would say, okay, you want to smell good, you want to dress good, you want to, you talk to a woman a certain way. You know what I mean? Give me a yes if you know what I'm saying. I hope I don't sound old fashioned by talking this way. I don't think I am. I think that still applies, right? So I said, in the comments, I said, when this woman was explaining why black women don't get married, and she was saying that it's because men won't do this, and men won't do that. I said, did anybody ever coach you on how to convince a man to want to marry you? And is it sexist for me to imply that would actually be good for you? Because if think about this, if you are coached, like think about it like a sport. If you're playing a sport against somebody and one person is coached and the other person is not coached, who's going to win? The person who's coached or the person who's not coached? If you're playing, if you have a competition and one team has practiced and prepared and the other one has not practiced and has not prepared, which team do you think is going to win? The team that didn't prepare or the team that did prepare? And I bring that up because I think about this, right? Imagine if you were a young woman who grew up with a mother who wasn't married, who told you, don't worry about these men. These men are stupid. Don't be letting these boys distract you. They're not important. Or implied to you that a relationship with a man is not important, that a relationship with a man should be at the bottom of your priority list as opposed to the top. That woman would probably not be really prepared to persuade a man to want to marry her, because she's going to be competing with other women who maybe had mothers who said, look, this is how you get a man's attention. This is how you talk to a man. This is how you deal with a man who approaches you, right? Like that preparation, I think, is very important. And what's interesting to me is that there were a few people who got really offended. They felt like I was blaming women because I said, I think that if you want something out of somebody, you should probably prepare in terms of how to persuade that person to give you what you want. And so I would almost say this, that sometimes when you're talking about things like getting somebody to marry you, which is a huge investment, I would think about it like trying to get somebody to invest in my company or trying to get somebody to start a business with me. I've got to be persuasive. I've got to I've got to lay out a pitch deck, and I've got to tell them about the opportunities that are here and how great their life, how my presence in their life is going to make their life better. If I'm selling a product, same thing. If I'm trying to get you to do anything, I have to persuade you, right? So this idea that that there are people who are offended by the idea of that a man deserves to be persuaded or to some extent wooed, similar to the way I was raised to woo a woman. um, I think that's part of your problem right there. Because again, everything's a competition, everything's a market. So when you're dating as a man, for example, you're competing against other men. And the man who offers the best deal is the one she's going to pick. If she does not pick you, chances are you did not offer her the best deal, right? And I think men understand that. And I think the same thing is true for women. When you are dealing with a man, you have to know how to offer a deal that's going to make him say, hey, I think I feel safe marrying this lady. I think I like what she's got going on. I think I want to be around that person. I think I want to go ahead and make this investment in that person and in this situation because they feel safe. They feel like it's going to improve their life. They feel like you're going to be an asset to their whole existence, right? So I would be very careful about co-signing on this false ideology that that women should be raised to focus only on their books, only on their careers, and pretty much put men over to the side. Because I know that if my wife had done that with me, I probably wouldn't want to be in her house. I'd probably say, okay, you got this. Go be a doctor. Go handle your career. I'll see you when I see you. Right. And that's a fact that people don't want to talk about because it comes off as politically incorrect because we're in this weird cheerleader society where me allegedly supporting you means that I'm supposed to agree with any flawed and failed strategy that you might be applying in your life. And I'm just not going to ever be built that way to look at something that doesn't make sense and to say that it makes sense just because it won't hurt your feelings. It hurts all of our feelings to know, hey, maybe I'm not doing my best. Maybe I'm not stepping up with and becoming the best person I can be. But the benefit of that is that if you acknowledge that and you face your problem head on, then you can fix that. Like, so for example, if you grew up where nobody ever taught you how to maintain a relationship or how to maintain a marriage, there's books on that. There's therapists that can work with you. There's even coaches out there that can help you, right? And I personally think that that's good. I think that's really, like, I didn't know how to be an entrepreneur because nobody taught me how to have a business and all this other stuff growing up. They didn't talk to me about investing in that culture, right? So I went and I learned those things. I learned how to be an investor. I learned how to be an entrepreneur. I learned how to evolve in a way that will allow me to get more of what I wanted. I didn't just sit back and sort of get mad at the people who had the things I didn't want. And last point I'll make on this, and I want to make this point real clear, is that there's also an aspect of dual accountability. I know that some men are cheering it on. I see people mentioning Kevin Samuels in the chat. RIP to Kevin. The only area where Kevin and I disagreed, and I did not disagree with everything he said. I thought Kevin was smart, very logical, very offensive, though. I think that sometimes he was mean when he didn't have to be mean. I don't like that. I don't think you have to be mean to make your point, but being mean, especially mean to Black women, is a great way to get views on your YouTube channel. I'm not trying to go and body slam Black women just for sport. I'm not interested in any of that. I don't want to do that. And so telling people they're going to die alone, you don't have to say that. Tell them that the 35-year-old woman is a leftover, that's bullshit. There's beautiful women, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, that would make better partners than some of these young girls with big booties. So you cannot judge the quality of a woman by her dress size. You can't judge the quality of a woman by her age. You can't judge the quality of a woman by whether she got kids or not. All that stuff I did not agree with. So that's where I wasn't in alignment with Kevin. Okay. And the last piece I'm gonna make on this, since we're talking about this whole relationship thing, and I'm speaking as a married man. Kevin was not married, he was divorced. I'm a married man. So we have a different perspective on some of this, is that dual accountability is incredibly important. And so if you are a man who thinks that every dating problem you have is because women are flawed in some way and there's something wrong with women, and you're sitting around complaining constantly about what women won't do and what's wrong with women, and this is why Black women do this and Black women do that, you're still going to lose because you're not addressing your own shit. You're not addressing the fact that as Black men, we have been constantly inundated with the most toxic culture on earth through hip hop music. You are every day constantly bombarded with music that's telling you to disrespect your women, to hate your own damn mother, to talk crazy about the women who took care of you, who nursed you, who had your back since slavery. So I don't get along with any of that. I'm not a fan of any of that. I know I can't exist without Black women. I know I can't exist without Black women, but at the same time, I'm not scared to tell women that need to hear certain things a perspective that may be different from what they've heard, because that cheerleader culture, that gold Black girl magic culture, and everybody's a queen no matter what ridiculous thing they do. I don't believe in any of that, because I believe in standards. And so the word standards might be, type standards in the chat if you agree with what I'm saying. The word standards might be the good theme for today. The question is, what are your standards? What are your standards for what you believe is appropriate behavior? What are your standards of what you expect is appropriate behavior? What are your standards in terms of what you're willing to do to earn your keep and earn your seat at the table? What are your standards? Is your standard that as long as I look good and have a nice booty, I'm okay? Is your standard that as long as I got a little money in the bank, then women should want to be next to me just because I got money? What is your standard? And I think standards are really important, because if your standards are either non-existent or they are one-dimensional, then you will fail. If your standards are non-existent, we have a society that encourages Black people to have no standards. We're supposed to cheer on everything. All the ridiculousness we see on TV, we're supposed to cheer that on like everything's Black girl magic and everything's Black excellence. Everything ain't Black excellence. Black excellence is supposed to be a damn standard. What is the standard? In fact, let me tell you, I saw a story the other day. Literally, this is how crazy the world has gotten. There was a principal who literally did not announce to the students at her high school that they were National Honor Society winners, because she didn't want to hurt the feelings of the kids who did not get into the National Honor Society. She literally did not tell them. She said, well, I didn't want to announce it because I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Are you kidding me? These kids worked hard to become National Honor Society students, and you didn't announce it. You killed their shine so they could be as dim and dull and unproductive as everybody else. You want them to fit into mediocrity, so you take away their opportunity to be congratulated for their excellence, for the fact that their parents had a standard that other parents did not. That's crazy to me. So I believe in standards. I believe in standards. And I think that if you are going to be hard on other people and force them to maintain a standard, the question is, how are you going to feel when they hold a standard to you? If you're a black man who looks at black women and says, I expect this and this and this and this and this, what standard are you applying to yourself? What standards does she have that you're willing to accept also in terms of your behavior or the way you're supposed to show up or whatever? Or is she supposed to just accept you for who you are, no matter how ridiculous you might be at that particular moment? Same thing. Same thing for women. If you have all these standards, I see women. I talked to a lady on an airplane who had a list of 15 things that a man had to have in order for her to date a man. I was sitting there listening, smiling politely, thinking, damn, I probably would never date you. And I don't think anybody else will date you for more than 2 weeks. Right? I was literally thinking that, but I'm smiling the whole time. But she had this big long list for men. And then I was really wondering to myself, I wonder what standards she's willing to accept from men, or when a man shows up and says, "This is what I expect out of you," you're gonna act all crazy and act like he's somehow oppressing you by holding your feet to the fire, just like you're holding his feet to the fire. See, everybody can do that. Everybody, not everybody. A lot of people have that problem. It's called projection in psychology. They can sit there and judge the hell out of other people, but can never withstand that same level of scrutiny themselves, and that causes problems. People like that, relationships might not be for them. But at the end of the day, if you want to be in that category of working together, building family is a great way to build wealth. A great partner will help you succeed in ways that doing it by yourself is very hard to do. Having children is a wonderful asset to your life if you raise those babies right. Black love is black power. Black love is the ultimate form of defiance. Black love is an act of war in terms against our oppressors. So ultimately, I think that black love is worth fighting for. I think black love is worth fighting for, which might mean humbling yourself when your ego gets out of check. It might mean sitting back down at the table with people that you're not comfortable with. It might mean learning how to expand who you are in ways that might seem a little uncomfortable at first. But at the end of the day, I think black love is worth it because black love is black wealth and black wealth is black love. They're all deeply connected to one another. So that's my 2 cents, guys. I hope that this makes sense. I'm literally 20 minutes late for my meeting because I had to share this message with you. I hope that it will be received in the way that it was intended, and I hope that it helps some of you because it is love that drove me to make this statement without caring about what any of the political correctness police might have to say about it. So do me a favor, guys, hit the thumbs up button before you go. Thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. My new book is called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. You can get a copy at my website, boycewatkins.com. If you're on Instagram, just hit the link in the bio. Also, that presentation I did on how to make money without working, that's right there. So feel free to click on that and take a look if that's of interest to you. I talk about basically selling stock options. I make a lot of money selling stock options, and I did a presentation on that. So anyway, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good day. And I'll check back in with you a little bit later. Take care now. Peace.